After playing Harvest Red, Arma 2's main single-player campaign set in Eastern Europe, I wanted to play something a bit different while still being in the same-ish region. I never played HROT before, and I figured it could be fun. HROT is a single-player retro-styled FPS game set in Czechoslovakia after a major disaster that occurred in 1986. Now, I've played Dusk and Ultrakill in the past, so I'm not a stranger to the retro shooter craze that has swept the world. HROT was made by a single developer from Prague, and it was originally released in early access in 2021, and the game was fully released in 2023, so it's been done for a while now. We have 3 episodes to check out, so we'll just get right in there to figure out what's going on in the Eastern Bloc. The first episode is called Kiss Me, Gustav. I picked the normal difficulty because I'm just a regular type guy. As is the standard for retro 90s and early 2000s influenced games, we start off with a pistol and a melee weapon. We also have a grenade, which I found out we can throw with the right mouse button. Not that I meant to throw it, but hey, now we know. We appear to be in the dingiest, brownest train station maintenance area known to man, and as we wander around, we stumble across some other bozos stuck with us. They go down easy enough, and after acquiring the shotgun, they go down even easier. I notice a crack in the wall, meaning there's probably some kind of treasure behind it. In this case, it happens to be a fully automatic submachine gun, which I can't complain about. Well, I actually can. There's not too much ammo with it, so I can't spray and pray for the time being. While I'm still getting my bearings, some rats pop up and start chasing me. I'd rather not blow them away, but they have red eyes and are beelining straight at me, so it's me versus them. The world of HROT is fairly interactable. We find a nesting doll that we can play with, and after murdering the dog, we see a radio that we can attempt to tune. There's also a key in here, which is another dime a dozen item in retro shooters. Keys, doors, and shotguns. That's the formula. It was good enough for Doom, so it's good enough for everything after. We unlock a door and see this guy vomit all over the floor. It's pretty fucking gross, dude. There's multiple items in this room that we can mess with, including a picture of a man that we can kiss. Soviets loved their kissing. I say we should bring it back. Anyways, turning this valve leads to a large fella coming in that chucks grenades at us. He's not too bad though, we'll be seeing him a whole lot more. We hop into an elevator to make our way up to the main subway station, and some music comes in. It's our first little arena. Not too bad, but again, it is the normal difficulty. I doubt we're going to be pushed to our limits anytime soon. I found another secret by blowing up this toilet. It kind of works like real life. When you blow up stuff, you might find cool things like shotgun shells, especially near toilets. Soon enough, we go through a vent, grab a key, and walk into the outside world. It's just about as aesthetically pleasing as the inside of the subway station, which is to say that the world shown in HROT is a vehicle for human sorrow, monotony, drabness, and pain. We make our way through the streets while duking it out with some of the other enemies. Now, I'm not exactly well read about the culture of a former Soviet state like Czechoslovakia, and I'm just an American that only reads and speaks English, so I feel like a lot of the context and references are lost on me. It's like when I was playing BioShock when I was 9 years old, and all of the Ayn Rand for Dummies social commentary flew over my head as I was blasting away splicers with shotguns at an impressionably young age. Either way, it's not a fun time here in Czechoslovakia and HROT, but eventually we get to the end of the level and find out that I missed 4 secrets. Oh well. In the first courtyard, I discovered that shift is how you kick. Awesome, that'll come in handy. Let's kick these bins. I also discovered that pressing E shows a translation of whatever text is in the world, so that'll give me a better idea of what we're looking at, but I doubt it'll give us a better indication as to what's going on. We progress onwards to fight some more bozo lords, but soon enough I get distracted by this sick-ass Soviet synthesizer. Years and years of a dead-end Fruity Loops hobby have finally paid off with this sick synth montage. If that isn't your speed, there's also a typewriter here where we can give a salute to Lenin. We get introduced to a new enemy, these sickly gas-masked shotgunners. They're not too hard to take down, but they pack a punch, so we gotta be cautious around them. Apart from that, it's the usual affair: enemies, secrets, and keys. That is, until some new contenders show up. Fish, turrets, and Serious Sam-esque suicide barrelers. Soon we find ourselves on the streets, and there's a dope-ass bike. I accidentally crush a fallen denizen of this dumpy-ass town, so we'll call it good for now. It looks like we're at a space research station or something, hence the name Luna. We find ourselves a nice little Hussite hand cannon, which for all intents and purposes is a rocket launcher. It's awesome. In fact, it's so cool that I blow myself up with it and die, so we have to give it another shot in this encounter. Okay, a slaughterhouse. Nothing too out of the ordinary. That is until we find these weird little homunculi that are shooting globs of fluid at us. They'll be dispatched for that. As disturbing as that was, it gets worse as we find this thing, a gorilla surrounded by swans. Shooting the gorilla wasn't the best move as it became enraged and started shooting rounds at me from guns attached to its arms. I want to say that I understand what's happening, and I want to sound clever and say, oh, this is clearly a reference to a sci-fi novel written by the Strugatsky brothers or something, but frankly I don't get it. Eventually we smoke the gorilla, take out some teleported goons, and hop on a swan to get an achievement. This level is more of the same for a while. We've been introduced to the flow and have a decent roster of weapons, so we navigate the environment while taking out enemies. So far my impressions of the game are pretty good, all things considered. The images on the Steam store portray a drab, almost boring game, but actually playing it makes a world of difference. It's definitely not slow, especially when these radio heads fly around to shoot at us. I would also be amiss to neglect mentioning the killer loader. Weird stuff. Luckily we can ground ourselves with some nice wine, which has the added benefit of supplying us with additional health. Sweet. We'll need it for when we grab this key and a Soviet military Mi-8 helicopter starts harassing us. While dodging bullets and launching projectiles at it, I love the soundtrack. It isn't bombastic Mr. Fantastic, but it is as dreadful as the environment, looming, despondent, but we still beat the heli, so it can't be all bad. While perusing around, I found a shitty Tiger Electronic game reference. This guy better not drop those eggs. Okay, it's actually kind of freaking me out, so I'm done playing. This game rules so far. I love all the secrets and small details. It makes it far more engaging than non-stop fighting monsters and corridors. Sokol Gym starts off in more of a crypt than a gym, but I'm sure we'll get there. We mostly fight monsters and corridors until we reach the city street and cause mayhem, like taking out this tree. I love environmental destruction. Other than that, it's the usual affair, apart from some unspecified rumbling. Soon enough, we are in another arena battle. One tip for you gamers would be to bust this wall open, and there you will find a lightning gun. It's excellent for killing rats, and I'm sure it kills other things too. And here we are at the gym. Or sports club. Whatever. It has all the amenities you can think of: foot soccer ball, wheelchairs, and a basketball court which has some kind of a wooden horse thing that is jumping around and shit. We spin in circles until we put it down. I guess this is a reference to some Czechian gym equipment that was common during the Soviet era. That wraps up the gym. Now I'm kind of a cultured man, so this might be my level. We start off near a metro station. The ambiance is nice. What's less nice is the log of shit that someone left in the metro station bathroom. Luckily we can flush it down flush it down to get an achievement. Some bozos get ran over by a train, but then I walk onto the tracks and take some damage, so it's kind of a 50-50. On the outside of the metro station it gets a bit heavy. Another heli rolls up, so we have to take it out. We have a fairly substantial arsenal now, so combat is a bit more dynamic than it was in the earlier levels. Especially now that we have a double-barrel shotgun. It's chunky. We go way down into a maintenance section, find a key, then work our way back up and enter the Palace of Culture, where I belong. The cinema is here, so we get to watch Lenin, I think, speak endlessly. Cool. After that, we head towards the lounge and then find an evacuation button which lowers us down further. And that's the end of the level. So far so good. That's a badass steeple. Lots of locations in HROT are based on real locations in Czechia. This castle is one of them. As you might imagine, the castle is surrounded by crypty, catacomb-type sewer things where the usual song and dance takes place, but we get a bit of a surprise upon our return to the beautiful surface. A horse. Specifically a World War I gas mask horse. You know, the ones that remind you of how fucked up humans are by taking animals and throwing them into our dumb shit that we started. The kind of horse that you make a movie about or something. Not this one though. I blasted his giant ass. I need to drink some wine to calm down. Anyways, the backyard area has a statue with a button on it. Upon pressing it, the doors to the castle open up, allowing us to peruse around. It's not a grand cathedral, but it's nice enough. It leads to some well-lit calm areas, which get even better as some big-ass spiders start chasing us. We then, and this might shock you, go to a canal water sewer area again, where we have to turn some valves. After which, this big-ass horse instantly drowns himself. Some other fellas pop up, but they go down easy enough. That's it for this one. Alright then. More sewery river canal things. I got stuck here for a while until I saw this tiny ass electrical box that I had to snipe, but whatever. We drain the fluids, open a dusk style door lock, grab a key, then... Okay, that one kind of got me. Other than that, it's mostly the regular combat that you've seen so far. It's the standard retro FPS fare. Pistols for long range, shotguns up close. The submachine gun does a bit for long and short range. The rocket launcher, the Hussite cannon, shoots straight out and blows up enemies. The lightning gun is awesome long range. And I forget I have landmines most of the time. The movement is very tight. I would describe it like Quake, but I haven't played Quake, but I've played Dusk, which has been described as Quakey. So it's kinda like Quake, maybe. Towards the end, we get lowered into a pit, and some fucked up spiders and goons attack us, but they get blown up in no time. The level ends by this creepy pit. Time to go to the mausoleum. It starts off with us in this dingy cavern, but an explosion leads us to a vent. Before we leave though, we gotta pick up a dope-ass crossbow. We get sucked clean off into this duct and find a sick, brutalist concrete and brick building. As you can imagine, this is an arena area. Let's do it. Cool beans. On the inside we take a look around and eventually find some old dead chump named Clement Gottwald. Kind of ominous. Shooting these boxes next to his crusty self gets us to the refrigerator room, where someone was doing evil, twisted science experiments. Morale is low in the R&D labs. Ominous messages written in blood. Don't go into the tower. Okay, you eggheads, I definitely won't without my trusty lightning gun that I found stashed in this corner. Now we are ready. Okay, maybe we aren't... What the fuck is that? Like the gorilla from earlier, shooting it is the smart thing to do. Some spidery Gottwald hybrid fuck is looking to kill us, so we gotta blast him first even though we shot him, or it, in its sleep. After besting that foe, we walk out into a courtyard supported by fireworks. Sweet. And that concludes episodes 1 of 3. In addition to winning, we get a recipe for beef stroganoff. Let's cook it. I'm going to be using, I almost said American. I'm going to be using imperial measurements because that's what Americans use. I'm not Czechian. Beef stroganoff ingredients: 1 pound of sirloin steak, 0.44 pounds of button mushrooms, I'm rounding up to 0.5, slice them up, 3/4 cup of sour cream, half a cup of red wine, 1 can of tomato paste, 1 onion, pickled cucumbers, they call these pickles, butter, pepper, salt, and rice. I do the first rice, rice first in the rice cooker. That stuff can cook and hold for a while you make everything else. Okay, let's do it. Cut the meat into strips, season it with salt and pepper, lightly fry the onion and butter, add the meat strips to the onion thing, fry it on all the sides. When the meat is fried, add the sliced mushrooms and tomato paste, fry them for a bit too. Damn it. Pour in the sour cream and red wine and season it with salt and pepper to taste. Serve it with rice and garnish that bad boy with a scoop of sour cream and cube-shaped slices of cucumber pickles. And that's your dish. What did you think it turned out? Does it look good or does it look bad? I'm gonna eat it either way, I don't give a fuck. Episode 2, the degustation. I guess gustation is the action of tasting, which I did to that delicious beef stroganoff. Anyways, we aren't doing that anymore because of the prefix D. Right out of the gate, we have some new enemies. These hooded axe, grenade, and shotgun wielders are straight out of Painkiller or something. They're pretty cool to fight. They can jump too, so don't get too close to them. This level is a bit more medieval than urban and sewery, which I'm down with. There's some cool wooden chairs laying around, nice architecture, artwork, cabinets, and ghosts! We poke around and find some crypts, and on the way back we get ambushed by some Hussite wagons. Just what we need. Armored transport guns shooting at us. They suck in Age of Empires 2 and they suck here now, but they go down easy enough. I think this enemy was supposed to be a jump scare, but it falls kind of flat. There's something down here. Probably nothing good. Nope, that's about as bad as it can be. A bear and 2 rats. I'm not really concerned about the rats, though. The bear goes down without needing to blow it up with dynamite by luring it with trash like how they used to do it back in 1916, but I'd rather not have to deal with another one. Especially with these guys that are hung. Hung as in dead. And then they drop down. Worse yet, another bear busts in too. Well, that was a close one. At least we're still alive. It can't get much worse than that. Okay, time to go back. As we head towards the end of the level, we get teased with another boulder, but nothing comes down. Whatever, man, we beat this level. We somehow wake up 1,200 meters below the Earth. Probably not a good thing. Lots of equipment is scattered around, but not a lot of ammunition. We need to be careful down here. I die by getting smacked by this industrial-grade drilling machine while trying to dodge a grenade. It's not the safest environment. Okay, that one was trying to hit me on purpose. This level is just straight up difficult. I almost got smoked here, but I pulled through. I also found out that I can kick these grenades that these tubby guys threw at me. Our football skills come in handy. There's a railway system and a cart. You know what that means. It's not too bad, just a romp through a mine on a cart. We have to stop at a few points along the way to unlock some doors, but it's a nice novelty sequence. Soon we head back up to the surface, and there's an arena fight waiting for us. After that, we find the exit and the ventilation system, and keep on rolling. Vilhartis, I'm just guessing on that, is a municipality and village within the Czech Republic that contains the Church of St. Mary Magdalene, which is said, according to Wikipedia, to be one of the scariest places in the country. It can't be that bad, though. The smart thing to do is to walk around the cemetery and eat some psychedelic mushrooms. It's the natural thing to do in one of the scariest places of Czechia. It's not as visceral as the psychedelic mushrooms in Noida, but we'll live. Once we eat the requisite amount of mushrooms, the church doors open to a dope-ass organ and some wine waiting for us inside. But we better get back to doing our HROT thing, going into Catacombs. It really builds up the atmosphere down here with ghoulish ghosts stalking the halls. Grabbing the key throws us into an ego-death situation where hooded, cloaked figures with axes are trying to slice my head off. This is going to be the last time I do a heroic dose. Our main goal now is to get back to the surface, which means fighting our way back up the catacombs. But it's not all cookies and cream at the top, as boner warriors risen from the dead are armed with rocks and are attacking us. Sweet. The amount of them is the biggest problem, but we eventually whittle them down with enough blasts of our trusty arsenal. Grabbing the next key, we get teleported into a chasm. One of the first mistakes I make is spinning the spider valve. Other than that, some radio heads appear, along with some more construction equipment and boners, and we very nearly die. After finding some more health, we see a guy in a wheelchair. Is he cool? No, he's not. He's throwing globs of shit at us. And he isn't alone. Another wheelchair warrior attacks us too, but it also marks the end of a level. Not a moment too soon. Hopefully we go somewhere nice from here. Maybe a beach. I guess not. The first half of the level is spent mostly fighting along corridors, and I don't intend to make that sound boring. It's fun, but it's not the most engaging video content, especially as most of the enemies are ones we've seen already. The first half is also kind of confusing, but it's most likely because I was consuming alcohol at the time of recording. Eventually, we find our way out. Nothing good is outside though, as a huge ass tank and some shotgunners are making their way towards us. The tank isn't really that hard once you know the weak point, which is the turret. Upon the destruction of said tank, we get a singular firework to celebrate our victory. It makes me feel a bit more accomplished. Upon entering the farm itself, we find a turbo fire power-up and a whole bunch of chickens lunge at us. It's time to cull the herd, chick style. Millions of years of evolution and a genetic chain, the lifeline of existence of a chicken getting severed via maceration due to being born the wrong sex within a second. But I eat eggs, so it's fine, I guess. It's an abstract product. Eggs just pop into the grocery store, right? We get some more Castley stuff, then a bear promptly mauls us to death. Let's try that one more time. Some noteworthy things on this level are the shotgun knights that bust out of these stables. They have some rapid-fire shotguns that we gotta dodge. And after that, I stumbled across some snakes that promptly bite me to death. The enemy variety is getting a bit higher, but most of the enemies, again, are the ones we've seen so far. This creepy hallway towards the end of the level leads to a dead cosmonaut. I don't really get it. Dobrošov fortress is based off of some real-life fortifications that were placed along the border of Czechia and Germany before World War II kicked off, the big WW2. You can probably imagine why they would have wanted those there. A bunch of the levels within HROT, including the last castle one, are all based on real locations. I haven't delved too far into it because I really don't know much about Czechia or its history, but it is pretty interesting to battle it out within these environments. This level almost reminds me of the original Call of Duty from 2003, duking it out against German soldiers in various concrete utilitarian bunker structures with machine guns, shotguns, and rifles. Don't get me wrong, it still feels dusky and quaky, but there's a level of history that I wasn't quite expecting when jumping into the game. It's interesting. We fight our way through the bunker, have a little turret section, and keep on rolling. There's also a mine shaft section where upon shooting all of the electrical boxes, we get shot up to an arena. And from there, we unlock the cargo container that was at the start of the level, and that ends the level. We start off on a motorcycle, and we have to avoid traffic on the way to our destination, which I failed to do. What is our destination? I have no idea. I'm guessing this is it. It's a nearby farmhouse. We find a plate and a book saying that Grandma is dead as shit and she's beneath the sod. Well, that sucks for her, but I'm still alive, so I'm winning, fucko. Let's ransack this place. While leaving the house, one of the jerks has a motorcycle, so we gotta take him and his friends out. Poking around some more, we are in this dingy, ominous basement. I don't feel good about this now. I probably shouldn't have called her a fucko. But at least there's not going to be any jump scares, especially not one of a stone statue of a dead below the sod grandma. That would be... So after that, we find another plate, and then we see this creepy-ass old lady grandma sod person leering at us from outside this homely domicile, tracking me through the different windows. Let's do it. She has some crazy fire floor powers and nails me once, but I put her down for good. We grab another key and head towards the shit zone. It's a literal sewer level with sewer level stuff, but we eventually get to this nice mansion looking building, which leads to an arena fight with waves of enemies. Next is the degustation. I don't know what that means. Well, I guess we're gonna find out. I found a stringed bass instrument, a medal, and the vibes are off. There's a whole lot of ammunition scattered around, and I figured I'd throw some landmines before the battle began just in case. Our trap is set. Let's hit these buttons, pull this lever. Well, out of all the things I was expecting, fighting a giant floating head of some nerd that wielded enemy teleportation powers and floated by helicopter rotor technology was not on the list, but we're in for a mess. And we need to kill this guy? Head? Thing. The battle gets to a point where I have 1 health point left. It's time to slam wide and hope for the best. Nice. 2 doors open, one is the exit, and another one is the vacuum. Might as well make the kill box look nice. And we get a little achievement out of it. How fun. I was gonna say that all of the fighting with a severed human helicopter head got me hungry, and that it would be time for our next recipe, which is cauliflower brain. I don't really want to film myself cooking again, so we're gonna skip dinner and go on to dessert. At the gastroscopy.
Gastroscopy. A gastroscopy
is a test to check the inside of a throat, esophagus, and stomach. This game is like a Czechian shitpost of the highest order, but it's also starting to become educational. War with the Newts is a Czechian satirical science fiction novel about the race of master newts that came out in 1936, parodying and mocking European politics at the time, with the rise of fascism, Nazi Germany, that sort of fun stuff. As such, this level is very reminiscent of some old classic World War II first-person shooters, like Return to Castle Wolfenstein. For example, here's BJ Blazkowicz. I don't think he's looking too good. Let's finish what he started and take out the Newt World Order. The Newts are armed with knives, shotguns, grenades, and some other fun items. They aren't flopping around. It's like a newt joke. Some of them are spawning in these tubs. Spawning. Do newts spawn? Or is that just like frogs? Anyways, you have to blow up these tubs, and some of them have rocket launchers. Damn. After a fun little elevator duel later on in the level, we stumble across one using the newt bathroom. There's a V2 nuclear missile looking thing in this chasm, but let's prod around this nearby cave system. I'm hearing some weird noises. Oh. Well, I don't really want to break up the party. Looks like they're having a good time. I'm just gonna go grab this key. And okay, they're not attacking me. I'll just let them be. We fight some more of the newts and find a new weapon, a ball lightning launcher. Nice. And that's the end of the level. The nuke flies off. Probably not a good thing. Between the psychedelic mushrooms and the degustation, it looks like we had a bad trip. We were hallucinating while reading War of the Newts. Maybe we can hit this button to get some help from a doctor. Wow, what an asshole. This place doesn't appear to follow the Hippocratic Oath. That's a doctor joke. We start gathering some more weapons as we started out with nothing. It's a hospital, so this level mostly consists of corridors on the first half. Well, our scan doesn't look too bad. It's kind of lumpy here, but, I'm not a fucking doctor. Not like they're helpful here. The pathology section seems pretty freaky at first, but it's really not that bad. We get to the bottom, grab a key, then head back up. We make our way to a swimming pool, fight some more fellas, drain it, and then make our way to some sweet bumper cars at the local autodrome. Synth dance music blaring, electric shocks, the usual amusement park related things. And that's about it. Let's keep it going. There's really not too much to say about this one in particular. The setting is half industrial and half residential. We find a model train set, which is really cool, and then this dumpster flies up to the air. I don't get it. An arena starts off in front of this grocery store. And that's pretty much about it. Cool. Right about when the level starts, we find a sickly dog in a cage. That's fucked up. Let's help him out. I gave him some snacks because he was probably starving. Okay, I think I fed him a bit too much, but he seems fine now. We appear to be in a train station, and I find an office with a cool horse calendar. I mean, it's kind of funny. I mean, look at all these funny, pixelated horses. I mean, look at them, it's like, this one's kind of goofy. look at this one, it's so fun. Oh, shit, okay, let's keep on going. I found another dog by this church. Who's doing this to these dogs? But I don't really get the point of these dogs. They haven't really been doing too much. Let's just ring this bell and... Okay, all of our weapons fell through the grate, so now it's just me and my dogs. Let's go into the crypt. Upon grabbing a key, a bunch of rats spawn in. My dogs promptly eat the rats alive. Good doggies, have some treats. So you don't have to save the dogs, but if you don't, you'd be stuck stomping these rats with your foot. Which would suck. It's like in BioShock, when you have like the little sisters or whatever, you can either save them or turn them into like worms. And there's no benefit to turn them into the worms because you get more of the plasmid power-ups later anyway if you save them all. So what's the point of turning them into grub? We eventually find our weapons again, and this Dungeon Crusader boss appears. His shield is deflecting anything you throw at him, so you gotta wait till he tries to pin your ass with the crossbow. Nice. It's mine now, bozo. This one starts off with some Soviet building combat, then progresses to some industrial combat. Again, I'm glossing over the majority of moment-to-moment gameplay. At this point it's going to be similar to my painkiller video, where the gameplay loop is more or less the same, but the interesting aspects are the environments and the little details that pop up. Once we activate the trash arm grabber thing, we hop in it and get launched down a chute towards the incinerator. We walk around the underbelly of this mechanical beast, and I try to kick some of these idiots into the spinning macerator looking things, but it doesn't do anything. It's kind of a bummer. We destroy all the guys, we blow them up, and we go down this dark and gloomy corridor. What horrors await us? It's dice games. I don't get it. I just mashed E until I won. Yippee! Train stations are cool, and we are at one, but before we get to see them, we have to open the door. Uh-oh. Dozens of enemies erupt from the ground and start fucking us up. This part is tricky. Okay, cool, now we are in the actual train yard. It's reminiscent of Half-Life 2 with the audio ambiance, but the graphics are way more brown. We have another encounter similar to the start of the level, but this time we have to dodge trains. We grab a key and fall again, and some enemies start flying out of this pipe. It's the same kind of thing. And that's the level. It's not a long one, but that was a lot of enemies. Yep, that's a stadium, alright. Football! There's lots of ammo, and as we are approaching the end of the game, I have a bad feeling about this. Pressing all the buttons along the stadium walls makes a present pop up, and as we approach, a mech pops out of it. It's impossibly strong. I kept blasting it, looking around for weak points, trying every single weapon I had, but it's godlike. There's nothing we can do. It tears me to shreds. Damn! Okay, I gotta buy some more time. I gotta figure out what the weakness is to it. Let's go back here for a bit. Oh, he just fell down the stairs. At 209 style from RoboCop. Well, I can't imagine that's it. There's probably another enemy somewhere. Either way, we'll just... God damn it. Some shirtless fuck on a bear pops out. This is the real boss. We start laying into him and his pet. His next stage is just him and the bear, which gets dispatched promptly, but he morphs into 3 different fucks, and one of them jumps onto a pterodactyl. What's going on? It's a bloodbath, especially as additional enemies teleport in. We have to knock them out one by one. Okay, so we got him. This guy is now coughing up blood like a fountain. So we better give him a gastroscopy.
Gastroscopy.
Okay. Yeah, so now we're inside of him. We'll just bust his mechanical tumor up. His heart of steel. And we'll flush ourselves down the toilet. And the credits roll. While I can't deduce any particular story in HROT, it's still a blast to play. It's very similar to Dusk, Quake, and other boomer shooter equivalents. I mostly enjoyed the setting and world building. It really reminds me of all the inside jokes of Infra, and the Finnish environment and references in that game. Europe as a whole has a rich and thorough history, and it's fascinating to experience it firsthand in a video game. I learned some things about Czechia, from castles, train stations, social events, food, literature, and it's all in a game where you shoot and blow up rats, newts, guys in gas masks, and other stuff. This person on Reddit goes into a bit more detail. It almost feels similar to something like Grezzo 2, a Doom mod that completely shits on the zeitgeist of mainstream Italian Christianity, but where Grezzo 2 is a Postal 2 adjacent disaster of grotesque slaughter, HROT is more of a sardonic critique of how inane Soviet state messaging was at the time, and just the general vibe of Soviet cities and livelihoods, maybe. The later stages of the Soviet experiment thing just kind of sucked, you know? We wake up in a sewer and find a note. If the horloge stops, this country is done for. Maybe this is what fucked everything up. We have a gear from the gastroscopy we did on the last guy in the stadium, so maybe we can fix it. The horloge is also known as the Prague? I think it's Prague. Astronomical clock. In Prague is where it's at. This script sucks. We find it, fix it, and the celebration commences. Fireworks pop off. Traditional Czechian Tredrlnik appears in the streets. We drink some wine and feed our lovely dogs. We saved the city and country, I think. The last recipe is for eggs and ass pick, but I'm good for now. Conclusion. HROT is pretty fun, probably more fun to play than watch at least. I know it looks brown as shit, but you get used to it pretty quick. I would recommend playing it if you thought it looked interesting. I'd say it's worth it. As far as the channel goes, we got a bit of a popularity bump from my last Arma video, so I will likely be playing another one of those for my next video. So if you want to see that one or any other videos I put out in the future, hit all the buttons and shit. I try to do a video once a month. That is the plan, and we'll just kind of go from there. Pulpers, you want to pulp it up with us? You hit those buttons and shit. You want to pulp it up with me? Hit that subscribe button. We'll get you pulped up.